There comes a moment in life, sometimes slowly, sometimes all at once, when the world begins to feel unfamiliar. You may find yourself sitting quietly in your living room, scrolling through old photographs, wondering how the people you once held closest seem to have moved on without you. Children grow up, grandchildren become busy, and suddenly, you're no longer part of their everyday rhythm. If you've ever felt like you've been left behind by your own family, you're not alone. This video is for you, not for sympathy, but for strength. Because even though time marches forward and loved ones may drift away, your value, your wisdom, your story, none of that fades. It only deepens. Before we go further, I want to invite you to leave a comment below. Have you ever felt forgotten or invisible in your own family? Share your story, because someone out there may feel the same, and they need to hear your voice. And if you find this video meaningful, take a moment to subscribe. There's a reason you found this video today. Let's walk through it together. Now, let's begin with something we all carry, the weight of silence. Silence is not just the absence of sound. For many of us, it's the absence of being heard, of once being the first phone call, and now, perhaps not even the last. You may sit by the phone, wondering why it doesn't ring, or why your family only reaches out when they need something. That silence, my friend, speaks louder than words. But here's the truth. Feeling left behind doesn't mean you are forgotten. It means your life has entered a new season, and like every season, it demands a new kind of strength. Many elders suffer in silence because they don't want to be a burden. We tell ourselves, they're busy, or I don't want to interrupt. So we wait. But silence only deepens when it is not broken. It's time to ask yourself, are you choosing silence, or has it been chosen for you? Because there's a quiet kind of power in reaching out first. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment or for them to remember. A simple message, a card in the mail, or even a short voicemail can say, I'm still here. I still care. And that can spark something in their hearts. But more importantly, you must break the silence within. That inner voice that whispers, I don't matter anymore. It's lying to you. You matter immensely. Take a moment to comment below. When was the last time you broke the silence? What happened? Let's learn from each other, because your story can remind someone else that they're not alone in this. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe. These conversations aren't easy, but they are necessary. You deserve to be seen. Next, we'll talk about something even heavier, the quiet comparisons we make that only add to the pain. Let's explore the illusion of the perfect family. We all do it, even if we don't mean to. We look at others, friends at church, neighbors down the street, or even people on television, and we think, why can't my family be like that? Why do their children call every Sunday, visit every other weekend, and send flowers just because? But let me tell you something that comes only with age and experience. There is no such thing as a perfect family. Every family has its cracks. Some just hide them better. What you see on the outside is often a highlight reel. A social media post with smiling faces doesn't show the sleepless nights, the arguments behind closed doors, or the quiet distance that grows between generations. Sometimes, even the most loving children are battling silent struggles, stress, anxiety, grief, that keep them from connecting in the way you might hope. The danger lies in turning those comparisons inward. When you begin to believe that your family's imperfections are a reflection of your worth, you carry a weight that was never yours to bear. Let me be clear. You are not to blame for the distance you feel. It is not a sign of failure. It is a sign that life is complicated, people are flawed, and relationships evolve in ways we cannot always predict or control. Still, that doesn't mean you're powerless. You have the wisdom to reach out without expectation, to love without condition, and to forgive, not always for them, but for your own peace. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever compared your family to others and felt worse because of it? How did you cope with that feeling? Share in the comments, because the moment you speak it, that illusion begins to lose its power. And if this part of the message resonates with you, I invite you to stay with me. Hit that subscribe button so we can keep building this space together. Next, let's talk about something few are willing to say out loud, the role you still play. It's easy to feel like your purpose has come and gone. When your children were young, your hands were full, your voice was needed, and your wisdom was sought after. Now, those same people may seem distant, distracted, or even indifferent. And so, you wonder, what is my role now? Let me offer you something that may be hard to hear, but is deeply true. Your role has not disappeared. It has simply changed. You are no longer the daily caretaker, the driver to school, the one staying up past midnight to make sure they're safe. But you are still the anchor, the keeper of memories, the silent strength behind the family name. And whether they show it or not, your presence matters more than they may ever admit. Your stories, your perspective, the way you've survived hardship and held on to love, these are not relics of the past. They are guideposts for the future. In a world that moves too fast and forgets too easily, you carry the lessons no book can teach. But here's the key. You must step into this new role on purpose. That may mean taking the initiative to write down family history, recording your voice telling stories, sending old photos with notes about who's in them. These small acts have lasting ripples. You become not just remembered, but unforgettable. And it's not just about your family. You still have a role in the community around you. Mentoring, volunteering, speaking to younger generations who crave guidance more than they'll ever say. There is no expiration date on purpose. It evolves, just as you have. Tell me in the comments, what role do you believe you still play in your family or community? Or what role do you wish you could play more fully? And if this stirred something in your heart, don't just sit with it. Subscribe, stay with us. Because in the next part, we're going to talk about a powerful shift, redefining connection on your own terms. For so long, we've been taught that connection is something we wait for. A knock on the door, a phone call out of the blue, a warm hug from someone who finally remembers to visit. But if you spend your days waiting for others to bring connection to you, the silence can become unbearable. The truth is, connection doesn't have to look the way it used to, and it certainly doesn't have to follow anyone else's rules. Redefining connection means choosing to build it in ways that nourish you. Maybe that's calling an old friend from childhood. Maybe it's joining a book club at the local library or attending a small group at your place of worship. It could even mean learning something new online and connecting with others who share your interests. But it also means letting go of the narrow idea that only family can fill your emotional cup. Sometimes, the most meaningful relationships come later in life, from neighbors, from caregivers, from people you least expected to matter so much. You have permission to stop chasing after what isn't being returned. You're allowed to create new circles. You're allowed to find joy in surprising places. And you're allowed to build a life filled with warmth, even if it's not the one you originally pictured. What are some ways you have found connection, even when family felt far away? Share it in the comments. You never know who might try your suggestion and find comfort in it. And please, if this part speaks to you, if it reminds you of your own quiet strength, subscribe. We're not finished yet. In our final part, we'll reflect on something sacred, finding peace in the presence of change. Change is inevitable. It arrives slowly at first, like a whisper in the hallway. Then all at once, it surrounds you. The house gets quieter. Holidays feel different. People grow apart, move away, become who you never expected, and sometimes, who you never wanted. But here's the wisdom that time has given you. Peace is not the absence of change. It is the acceptance of it. You've weathered storms. You've endured seasons of loss and loneliness. You've had to let go of people before you were ready, and forgive things that were never made right. Through it all, you've kept going. That is no small thing. Peace comes when you stop resisting what is and start embracing what remains. The morning light through your kitchen window, the laugh lines on your face, the favorite song that still makes your heart swell, the small moments of grace that appear when you least expect them. You may feel left behind, but the truth is, you are still here, still needed, still capable of love, laughter, and purpose. And above all else, you are still becoming. So take a breath. Sit with the silence, but don't let it define you. Look around at the life you've lived and the wisdom you carry. You have earned the right to feel proud of every scar, every lesson, every step. I want to hear from you. What brings you peace? even when life doesn't look the way it used to? Comment below. Your answer could be the beginning of someone else's healing. And if you haven't yet, subscribe. This space is yours. A place where your voice matters, your story belongs, and your presence is honored. You haven't been left behind. You are right where you're meant to be, and we're glad you're here.